Therese is the CEO of ATXA Therapeutics. Therese, you're very welcome. Thanks very much for coming along. Therese is also Professor of Biochemistry at UCD. Therese is an internationally recognised expert in the field of prostanoid biology, and she has published extensively in top peer-reviewed journals. Therese has over 15 years expertise in drug discovery and drug development, and in recognition of her contribution to research, Therese has received a number of awards, including the Royal Irish Academy Medal in Biochemistry, and was elected member of the Royal Irish Academy as well. So, Therese, you're very welcome. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Chris. Good evening, everybody. I am Therese, as Chris kindly introduced me. So, ATXA Therapeutics. So, who are we? So, ATXA Therapeutics, based in Dublin, ATXA is a pharmaceutical company clinically advancing first-in-class proprietary drugs for the treatment of a condition of a heart and lung disease. Our lead drug, NTP-42 it's called, is viewed by the leading FDA and EMA drug regulators as having the potential to dramatically change the treatment of a condition called pulmonary arterial hypertension, or PAH. So what is this? Pulmonary arterial hypertension is a devastating, life-threatening disease of the heart and lungs. Up to 500,000 people globally suffer from the condition, and without treatments, patients die within 3 years of heart failure. But survival can be extended to 5 to 7 years if the patient adheres to a cocktail of current approved drugs. Now, the problem with these current drugs is that they only treat one aspect of the disease, that is the narrowing of the blood vessels in the lungs, but they do not treat the right heart failure, which is the ultimate cause of early death in patients. Also, they carry extremely poor side effects and are extremely badly tolerated, which really adds to the very, very poor clinical outcomes that we see with this disease. So there really is an urgent unmet need for new and radically better drugs to treat this truly dreadful condition with a very poor prognosis. So what is the solution? ATXA's lead drug, called NTP-42, directly inhibits a key driver of PAH called the thromboxane receptor, which is actually at the root cause of the disease, including its symptoms and progression in both the heart and in the lungs. So this unique ability of NTP-42 to block PAH disease progression in both affected organs suggests that it may be the radical new disease-modifying therapy that is much needed today. And this isn't just for PAH, but also for much more widespread heart and lung diseases. After all, most of us will die of heart failure. So to put this more simply, NTP-42 could become the standard of care drug of choice for use by the doctors for the treatment of these conditions, preventing their disease progression and prolonging patient lives, the goal of medicine. So what's the target market and the opportunity? Because of NTP-42's first-in-class and orphan drug status granted by both the FDA and the EMA, the total addressable market for ATXA's drug is the entire global spend on the PAH drugs market today. And what is it? In 2022, the global market was valued at $7.3 billion and will grow to $9.5 billion by 2027, when we expect to launch. Also, there is great scope for further increase in this total addressable market, where more patients are actually receive treatment globally. But also, based on our cost of goods, NTP-42 will be extremely competitively priced, meaning that we will capture as much as possible of the actual total drugs market. In terms of our traction and validation, since 2019, €15 million has been invested in ATXA with Enterprise Ireland, prestigious European Union, Horizon 2020 and EIC accelerator programs alone, providing €10 million of grant and equity funding. ATXA already has a valuable and growing global patent estate with 15 granted patents protecting our drug NTP-42 and related drugs in major markets out to 2036, combined then with the EMA and FDA's orphan drug status offering further extended protection from the competition. Critically and most importantly of all, the drug has already been very successfully validated in a phase 1 clinical trial in healthy volunteers, where it was confirmed as safe, well tolerated, and really only needs to be taken once daily at low doses for clinical effect. So these achievements have led to prompted world-class business partners such as Almac, Catalent, Charles River to come on board in the move to bring NTP42 into phase 2 clinical trials, which is what we're now at and we're actually fundraising for today. What are our milestones? So as I mentioned, the company is in a clinical development stage where we have already successfully completed the phase 1 clinical trials. Now we are getting ready for the phase 2 trials. So this work is well underway. Scaled up drug manufacture of NTP42 has passed all quality certifications at Almac. The delivery of oral forms of the drug as a dry powder and capsule is at completion at Catalent. The long-term toxicology testing is well underway at Charles River Labs. A bridging clinical trial in healthy volunteers will be conducted in November, December of this year. In fact, it starts tomorrow at the Hammersmith Medical Research, who ran ATXA's phase 1 clinical trial. And then with a regulatory clearance from the FDA and EMA, we're ready to start the phase 2 clinical trial in PAH patients in late 2024, with its expected completion in 2026. Now, this will represent a major milestone for the company and indeed for the investor. So in terms of our competition, who are our competition? They are the major pharma companies who control or command PAH drugs market today. In fact, they will also likely be ATXA's acquirers after we finish the phase 2 clinical trial. They are Johnson & Johnson, J&J, Merck, GSK and United Therapeutics, as well as other smaller pharma companies who are also trying to develop new therapies for this condition and other heart and lung diseases like ATXA, so may also be our acquirers. So in terms of our team, Chris has already kindly introduced me, but I am, for what it's worth, the founder and CEO of the company. I'm a leading expert in disease mechanisms with over 100 scientific publications. I'm lead inventor on each of ATXA's 15 granted patents and others at Guinness and UCD. I was awarded the Royal Irish Academy in Biochemical Society gold medals and I'm an elected member of the Royal Irish Academy. Importantly, though, as CEO, I'm supported by a highly experienced and dedicated team, including not least Helen Reid, Dr. Helen Reid, Program and Operations Manager, Gillian Lynch, Finance Manager, Drs. Eamon Mulvaney, Senior Scientist, and Elizabeth Enge, Scientist, as well as by a global team of expert clinical drug development and regulatory pharma advisors. ATXA's board bring extensive acumen to the company, including in product commercialization, clinical development, company strategy, finance and venture. For example, at Forest Labs, our chairman, Dermot Burke, built a multi-billion-dollar pharma business prior to Forest acquisition. Similarly, Drs. Daniel O'Mahony, who's here today, and Jonathan Langley bring invaluable corporate, business, venture and clinical management skills to the company. So together, the company, the ATXA team, the board and our expert external advisors have in-depth knowledge of all that is necessary to know in aspects of PAH. This, of course, is helped by being active in the field for more than 25 years with proven ability to deliver, as well as having vital contacts and key networking at scientific, clinical and business meetings and conference attendance. In terms of our finances, as I mentioned, we have already €15 million approximately invested in the company since 2019 as equity, convertible loan notes, CLNs or non-dilutive grant funding. In this, the promoters, including founders, senior management and board, have substantially invested in equity shares and through loan notes, very substantially, as a measure of their endorsement of the company and our offering. Enterprise Ireland have invested up to €1.6 million in grant, equity and loan notes to date. We understand that we're entirely EIS eligible, where Spark investors can, of course, avail of a 40% tax incentive relative to others. Importantly and uniquely, as equity, in addition to equity, the Series A shares on offer at ATXA offer an 8% interest, which accrues annually and paid to the investor at exit. So over a 4-year period, you can earn an additional 32%, for example, on your investment, as well as, of course, the escalation in share value of the company. So in terms of our investment, we are targeting a 500,000 equity capital raise, as I mentioned, through Series A investors, Series A shares. Already 4.5 million euros in grant and equity has been committed from institutional investors. I mentioned about the EIS eligibility, a 40% discount by professional investors. Importantly, the equity carries Series A shares, carry 8% annual interest that accrues annually. The pre-money valuation for the company is 40 million euros, but successful completion of the phase 2 clinical trials in PAH will lead to at least a 10 to 20-fold uplift in the company valuation, again also returning to the investor. So in terms of our exit strategy, ATXA perceived 2 important exit strategies likely after our phase 2 clinical trial in PAH patients. They are either a merger and acquisition, where the company is acquired by one of the 4 pharma players in PAH. They are, of course, as I mentioned, J&J, Merck, GSK and United Therapeutics, or other specialist pharma. But combined, these 4 pharma players command more than 90% of the drug sales in PAH, worth, as I said, last year 7.3 billion, and growing with a growth rate of 5% each year. But importantly, where the higher reimbursement rates and growth rates are earned for innovative drugs such as NTP42 that are new to the market. And this is particularly important because these key pharma players are trying to acquire drugs like this because they are trying to maintain their franchise or even grow their franchise. So this becomes a very particularly strong potential for an M&A by these companies. Or alternatively, as a licensing deal where NTP42 again is out-licensed to one of these 4 pharma players or by other specialist pharma, of course, with existing sales force in key markets across Europe, North America and Asia. A licensing would yield an upfront payment followed by milestone and royalty payments on NTP42, both to the investor and, of course, to the company. So as a benchmark on a licensing deal in this area, in late 2018, quite a few years ago now, United Therapeutics in-licensed Arena's ralinepag after their phase 2 clinical trial in PAH in a deal worth $800 million in the upfront payment, $400 million dollars in the milestone, and double-digit royalties based on ralinepag sales once it's launched onto the market. So the questions now are, why invest in ATXA? We have a highly skilled management team with proven global franchise building expertise. Our mission and development milestones have been validated by multi-million euro investments and year-on-year achievements. The FDA and EMA regulators have endorsed ATXA's NTP42 by granting it orphan drug status. We have a significant, valuable and growing global patent estate with already 15 granted. The drug, importantly and uniquely, treats both the heart and the lung in PAH patients, and therefore has huge potential to treat many other blockbuster diseases, ones that we will all suffer from, increasing the market opportunity to ATXA and reaping rewards for the investor. The market opportunity for PAH alone is huge, worth more 9.5 billion by 2027. Importantly, as I mentioned, Spark Investor available the opportunity at a 40% discount, thanks to EIS, and as well as the equity, the Series A shares carry an 8% annual interest paid out at a tax exit. Thank you for listening. Happy to answer any questions. Further information, of course, is provided on the website or indeed on the Spark crowdfunding website. So thanks again.
Thank you very much. Therese, thank you very much indeed.